Hello and welcome to another episode of the Doster, Tio, the Banter podcast here on the Field of 68 Media Network. It is Monday, March 21st. It is exactly 9:40 in the a.m. Eastern Standard Time, the only legitimate time zone, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Rob Doster. I have with me Terrence Oglesby, the rifleman, Clemson's finest, and the one and only John Fanta, everybody's favorite college basketball personality. I'm fired up, guys. The Sweet 16 is here. We're presented by our partners over at Bet Rivers Sportsbook. We're going to talk plenty about what's coming up in the tournament next weekend, but we have to look back first. Fanta, you were in Buffalo, you were in Pittsburgh, you had a chance to watch all the games while you were there. Give me what's the moment that's going to stand out for you the most so far? What is the one thing that you're going to end up remembering from this weekend?
Well, Rob, you're not going to like me at all, and I'm sorry. But it was Teddy Allen eliminating Connecticut. He did it by himself.
Yeah.
Literally by himself. This was an amazing win by New Mexico State. They had not won an NCAA tournament game in 3 decades. And Chris Jans is now at Mississippi State. So that shows you what that means. And what New Mexico State did in this game is they defended UConn at such a high level. They packed it in. They made UConn take threes, and Teddy Allen was a bucket. 37 points in this game. The KeyBank Center became Allenland, and he just kept on willing his team. I'm impressed, Ro. It was the classic. Every time he hits a big shot, he's looking at the crowd, chest pump. Crowd now is behind this kid. So that was the defining shot for me of the weekend. Out of all the things I witnessed, that and Providence clinching a Sweet 16 ticket for the first time in 25 years. They did it in a pretty commanding fashion at the end of the day. But I saw real tears. I saw real tears from Bob Driscoll, their athletic director, who's going to retire this year. I saw real tears from Nerese Cooley, who at one point in her life was working as a police officer way back when, to help make ends meet when Ed Cooley was making about $13,000 a year as an assistant coach. This is what these people came from. And now a dream is fulfilled. So those were a couple of the things that I got to witness here this weekend. And the last thing, I know you asked me for one, Houston has some dudes. Houston could make a Final Four.
Fanta, while you're at it, can you just mention every team that won a game in the NCAA tournament while you're on a roll?
I'm sorry. Those were the 3 things I got to witness live, though.
Well, the reason I went to you first there is because I knew we were going to get a little bit of a Fanta Ranta. So now me and Tio can say our Ranta.
I love it.
A Fanta Ranta. So Tio, what was the most memorable moment? Your biggest takeaway? What's going to stick with you from the first weekend?
The biggest thing, obviously, St. Peter's and Shaheen Holloway. I mean, that goes without saying. And I know Kevin Willard's out of Seton Hall, and everybody it's the worst kept secret in the history of college basketball coaching searches who's going to be the Seton Hall's next coach. It's going to be Shaheen, but the competitive drive behind it with him, and then how that gets over to his team and how they follow suit is awesome. And they beat a Kentucky team that a lot of people, including myself, picked to win the national championship. And they just gritted it out, and they were just tougher. And their bodies weren't as big, but to quote a Fantaism, I would say their hearts were bigger. And like those guys play with such a competitive drive. And my other team guys, I was blown away by Houston, because I know Illinois is as sporadic as I've ever seen a team be, a really good sporadic team that thrives off their own chaos. But Houston was not letting any of that go undetected. If Illinois made a play happen, they rotated correctly. Everything is difficult. You cannot pass the ball. You're not going to get an easy shot. Every rebound is contested. That culture down at Houston, and Kelvin Sampson lost his best 2 players. I feel like we've said that a million times. Ed Cooley's the National Coach of the Year. Kelvin Sampson needs to be in that conversation as well.
Mm-hmm. For Kelvin, more than anything else, is the culture that he has developed there. And I've said this probably 100 times over the course of the last 14 hours. But the fact that it's such a next man up attitude. It doesn't matter how many guys they lose that average 18 points a game. There's always someone else ready to go, whether it's Jamal Sheed stepping in for Marcus Sasser or Tajay Moore waking up and turning into this guy. Like, he's a stud, dude. Tajay Moore is an absolute stud. And it's such a perfect example of why Houston works. For me, there are two things that are really going to stick out for me. St. Peter's is a given, right? And at one point I do want to make on them for both of you guys. It's like, that wasn't just some mid-major waking up and making 25 threes in the game to beat someone. Like, they went out and they ran really good stuff. They had dudes execute. They had guys that were up for the moment and make plays to beat these teams. Like, that wasn't a fluky thing. Does that make sense? Like, St. Peter's went out there and they kicked their ass.
No, not at all. I went and saw this team practice in October, and it's as hard as I've seen a team practice all year. All year. This is a team that takes on the identity of their coach. Shaheen Holloway, McDonald's All-American. He played in the McDonald's All-American game with Kobe Bryant. Guess who was the MVP of the game?
Shaheen Holloway.
Shaheen Holloway.
All right, so this
guy is just. I have to go on a rant here.
Oh boy.
He is the epitome of a guy who had been doubted before, had been questioned. Once upon a time, he picked George Blaney at Seton Hall over Mike Krzyzewski at Duke. That's incredible. He was recruited by Georgia Tech, California, Duke, and Seton Hall University. And he loves that mentality. And he'll tell you he's not a Jersey guy. He's a Queens guy. He's from Queens.
Oh, man. I love that line. For the people that missed it, Jamie Erdahl, she's great. But at the end of the post-game press conference after he advanced to the Sweet 16, she goes, "You're a Jersey guy. What does this mean for Jersey?" And he's like,
"No.
I'm not a Jersey guy. I'm a New York guy." And I was like, yeah, damn right. He had a quote. It's fan. I want to read this to you because I know that you're going to love this. He said, "I've got guys from New Jersey and New York City. You think we're scared of anything? You think we're worried about guys trying to muscle us and tough us out? We do that. That's who we are." Man, I love that quote. Why wouldn't you want to play for a dude like that? It's not.
It's not fake. This guy's real. He expects the best from his players because he gives the best. And that's a staff that's making very minimal dollars. The operating budget is low. If you walked around that campus, you'd walk a total of 2 blocks.
There is no campus life there. That's the thing about it. Like, they have no budget. There is no campus life. It's kind of a commuter school, more or less. And he's found a way to get it done. If you go back, Jeff Gooden did a rankings for every conference, that like ranking the jobs of every conference, right? St. Peter's is the worst job in the MAC, and I don't even really think it's close.
Yeah, I mean, it's a hard job, and what they've done with the facility alone in the last 2 years is pretty impressive because it came from nothing. It was a high school gym, but it is a really hard job. It'll go up at least a notch in those rankings after this run because they've made over $100 million this past week. That's unbelievable. It is the greatest moment in the university's history, and it's not close.
Yeah. I would venture to say it's true. What's their operating budget coming into the year or coming into the game was like 1.6 million compared to Kentucky's, which was over
their operating
3 or something.
Here's the craziest stat. Their operating budget was 20% of Coach Cal's salary.
Yeah. I mean, that's
their operating budget could not pay for Coach Cal's coaching staff.
It was funny. We played. So my first year coming back from Europe, I was on staff at Clemson, and St. Peter's came down to Clemson. And I remember talking to Antonio Reynolds-Deans, who's a former Rhode Island guy, and he's familiar with the Northeast. And he goes, it's going to take a second, but if there's anybody who can get St. Peter's going, it's Shaheen, because he's so tough and smart and he gets it all done. But the way they played against us, I think they were 2-6 or 2-7 coming into the game. If my memory serves me correctly, but they ran good stuff. And then he let his guys go. Like, it was a perfect combination of both. Like, if you have an early opportunity, go ahead and take it. If you don't, make sure that we run our stuff, and it's pretty good stuff. There's a lot of, what is it called? Counters to everything that you do defensively. He figures it out. He sees all that stuff. Like, really, I mean, good for them. Good for them.
Yeah.
$100 million. Good for them.
Yeah, they exploited mismatches. I think it was $100 million of brand exposure. I don't think they made. Yeah, okay.
Well,
because you said they made it was what
yeah,
regardless of
they did. I mean, it's brand exposure, but it's the same thing. You're on Today. You're on Good Morning America.
Yeah, true.
Put it all. I'm saying parlay that all together in what you're going to be able to do from a enrollment standpoint, from just an awareness standpoint. Like when it's all said and done, it'll be the biggest moneymaker in the history of the school. They're making thousands of dollars upon thousands of dollars by the hour of merchandise. My brother lives in Cincinnati. He just asked me to go drive over to Jersey City and pick him up a hoodie.
I kind of want to get a hoodie too, man. We got it.
Okay, I'll add you to the package.
Except I want my hoodie to say "Nuts Hanging Dagan" with a picture of Doug Eater. Vanna wasn't there for that. I don't know if the listeners were there for that. It was we'll tell that story in a little bit. I'll tell you this. There were two things.
Dagan basically named himself that. He gave himself his own nickname. So he said, I won't respond if you just call me Dagan.
Okay, so anymore. Yeah, we'll do the full story. So when we were in Philadelphia for the live shows, it was after St. Peter's had won. Everyone went nuts because I asked Shaheen Holloway how he gets his players to play, to let their nuts hang when they play the way that they do. And Dagan thought it was funny. Someone asked us who would play, like if we had actors doing the movie of Field of 68, who would play each of those characters, and someone said Doug Eater would play Dagan. And so that turned into calling him Nuts Hanging Dagan. And as soon as we said Nuts Hanging Dagan, he was like, that's not going to stick. That's not going to be a thing. And we were like, no, actually, now it is going to be a thing. You just ruined that for yourself. So that was the worst story of all time. I'll tell you guys this. Two things that are going to stick with me. Drew Timmy's performance in the second half against Memphis. He went full National Player of the Year mode. We haven't seen it all that often from Timmy this year. It feels like he's kind of really settled into this. We have a great team. I don't need to go out and try to get 25 every single night role, and it's worked. But when Gonzaga needed him to turn it on or go home, he turned it on. Went for 21 in the second half. I think he scored 13 in like the first 6 minutes. Really turned that game around. Did you guys see his press conference after the game
when he tried not to curse? Yeah.
Oh man, that was the awesome. Funny. We're not going out as no soft guys.
I don't give a flying
F. That was
good
great
stuff.
And the other one was Ben Mathurin in Arizona against Arizona or against TCU.
Oh my.
30 points, 8 boards, 5 assists, hit the 3 to force overtime. You could tell that Arizona is struggling right now to do exactly what they want to be able to do without having Kirk Creasy available. And Ben Mathurin said, F that. I'm putting this team on my back. We're making a run. So those are going to be the two things that stuck out for me. Who is your fancy? Let me ask you this. Who is your first weekend MVP? Who was the best player? Who is the most outstanding player? Who stood out for you more than anybody else?
Well, I mean, I think Ben Mathurin is March Madness spirit animal. He was absolutely outstanding. His emotion, his ability to push Arizona to the finish line. He pushed his team to the finish line. That was an exceptional grown man's performance. I could not be more impressed by what I saw from him this weekend. And
he killed a guy with a dunk.
Oh, yes, he did. He put everybody on their head. He took San Diego and made it his town. I am so impressed by that kid. He breathes toughness, and he willed them. He is the unquestionable. You could pick a couple others, but he's my unquestionable MVP. What I witnessed last night, where they're down by three with 90 seconds left in regulation, I thought they were going to lose.
Oh, yeah, me too.
I thought Arizona was losing that ball game. You know why they didn't lose? Ben frickin' Mathurin, that's why. He is a tough you-know-what.
We got to call him BFM from now on. Ben fucking Mathurin.
I like that.
Big time.
I like that. My MVP goes to a Carolina guard. RJ Davis was a dude. And guys, I don't know what it is. It's like when Caleb Love kind of let go of the ball, RJ Davis started to thrive. And they turned Caleb Love into more of a catch and shoot shooter, not doing as much ball handling. They're letting RJ Davis be great. And boy, was he great in their game against Baylor. Ended up with 30 points, I think 6 and 5. I don't have the stats right in front of me. But his ability and quickness to get to the rim as fast as he does, he's got the ball on a string. He's not the physical guard that like a Ty Lawson is, but he's every bit as quick. And his ability to get into the paint, when he's knocking down shots, you can forget it. I don't know how you guard him. And if Carolina is able to hold on to him for another year, that might be a top 3-point guard in the country coming back next year. And he's somebody that everybody's going to have to watch and everybody's going to have to hear about, because if he plays like he has over the course of the last month, all next season, the hype is going to be real, and the hype is going to be worth it because his ability with the basketball in his hands is second to none. I don't know that Caleb Love comes back for another year, so they're going to have somebody else slide in, just going to enhance his responsibility, which I think is a good thing because of how good a player he's become. But 36 or 30 points, 6 boards, or 6 assists and 5 boards. I might have those flip-flopped, but man, as good as he needed to be against a Baylor team that just battled and just continued to fight. And there was a lot of things happening in that game, but he rose to the occasion. That's my MVP.
Yep. I have 2. And so I'm going full John Fancy here, and I'm just going to name everybody. The first one is Isaiah Wong. I think that he's the best player on Miami. He was the best player on Miami in the first weekend. He had 22 against USC in that win. He had 21 against Auburn, and it ended up being a blowout, man. T.O., you could take your victory lap on that when we get to it. But Isaiah Wong was incredible this weekend. And I also want to give credit to Hunter Dickinson. He had 21 points, 6 boards, 4 blocks. He being the guy that they kind of ran offense through against Colorado State, being something of a mismatch. Like, he was really, really good in that game. And then against Tennessee, 27 points, 11 boards, 4 assists. He proved himself a first-team All-American, and the hype that he had coming to the season was real. And he proved that today. We're going to get into a region-by-region breakdown of the Sweet 16. But first, just want to let you know that today's episode of the DTF podcast is sponsored by Honey, which is the easiest way to save money when shopping on your phone or your computer. Have you ever been in this spot, guys? You're shopping for something online. You get to check out when it asks you for a promo code. You start Googling trying to find some way to save a little bit of money. Thanks to Honey, manually searching for coupon codes is a thing of the past, because Honey is the free tool that scours the internet for you and finds the best one that fits your cart. Here's how it works. You're shopping. You check out. The Honey button pops up. You click Apply Coupons. You wait a few seconds, and you watch the price that you pay go down. I use Honey myself. I just bought my son all of his T-ball gear for the season over the weekend. And anyone that has kids, Fancy, you don't know about this yet. T.O., you definitely do, knows how expensive that stuff can get. But with Honey, I saved myself a cool $45. That's not bad. It was about 25% off the total. So it's free. It's so easy, and it works on a desktop. It works on a laptop. It works on an iPhone. All you have to do on your phone is just activate the tab on the Safari app. So if you don't already have Honey, you could be straight up missing out. By getting it, you'll be doing yourself a solid and supporting this show. I never recommend something that I don't use myself. So get Honey for free at joinhoney.com/March Madness. That's joinhoney.com/March Madness. The link will be in the description.